Hi guys, and welcome to my October wrap-up. And this is so exciting. It is Halloween today. I usually don't film this till my wrap-ups till after the month is ended, but it's Halloween. I know I'm not going to finish them. I have some of my Ravenclaw gear on already. I'm so excited for Halloween. I'm going to be Luna Lovegood. And surprisingly, I don't think I've ever been her. Maybe I have been once before, but I'm excited for it. So I read 14 books in October, and it feels really weird stopping and doing it now because I'm at the end of 2 books and in the middle of another one. So, but I know I'm not going to finish them because it's Halloween. So, yeah, and 14 books is way too many to read in a month anyways. It was a longer month. I think this was a 5-week month. So the very first book was The Towering Sky by Katharine McGee, and I read 2 of the other books in this series before, and then I also just read her American Royals, which was so adorable and cute, and I definitely would recommend it. And that was in last month's wrap-up if you want to go check that out. But this one is the third and final in a series, and it's a series promised to be like Pretty Little Liars, if you're into that, or Gossip Girl, and it definitely delivers. It has the drama. It follows 5 teenagers, and it takes you through their lives, and some of them are very, very wealthy, and they live at the very top of this tower. There's a few deaths in the story. There's a bit of a mystery factor. There's a lot of romances in the story of will they, won't they, that play out through all 3 books. I would say the last book was very good at summarizing, but still having genre, not summarizing, but happy endings, but still having the drama there. You still follow all 5 of the key players. You still follow Lydia and I don't know how to say him. Rylan, Watt, and Avery. So if you've read about any of these books, or if you read the first one, I would suggest reading the whole trilogy, all 3 of them. They were really fun, really easy reads, simple reads, just kind of middle of the road, solid reads. I thought they were a lot of fun, definitely YA. And I thought they were cute. And even the drama at the end of the last one, it could have played out that she could have made another one, but instead she just made everything kind of fit more nicely into a bow instead of leading you on onto another book. But she could have, the way she had set it up originally. So a lot of drama happens. I don't want to give too much away because it is a third in a series, and if you're not there yet, you're not there. But I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Okay. The next 2 books are Intercepted and Fumbled. So I don't know where the little cards are, by Alexa Martin. And I think I recommended these in my fall reads because they're definitely football, romance reads. I hope you can't hear that pounding outside. They're doing construction near me. But they're football, romance reads, and the author herself was an NFL football wife, so she's got some authentic, living, or she's got some authentic experience with it, which is also really fun. But the very first book, the 2 books are very separate, but they're both kind of themed on the same lines a little bit, where it's kind of old past loves a little bit. So the very first one is about a girl who's in a relationship that is not a great relationship, and she's been strung along for years and years, but loves the guy, and he's just not a really great guy though, and she's not married to him, but has been his serious girlfriend for a decade. And that one peters out really fast, and there's a guy waiting in the background that she was involved with for a very short time period, and he's just more of a stand-up guy, and he has very strict moral values. The only thing I would say with that book is I wish we got to know Gavin a little bit more. And he's that guy I'm talking about. I think he's the quarterback or the receiver or something. He's the team captain or something like that of this Denver they're called what are they called? They're called the Denver Mustangs in these books instead of the Denver Broncos. But he's more of a solid guy, and he's a family man. He goes back all the time back home. And so he's just a completely different guy that she gets involved with. But she's very touchy, of course, and she doesn't want to get involved in this NFL lifestyle anymore because she's kind of quite over it, and she's quite over being in the drama. In that first book, there's so much more catty drama, and there's a lot of hashtags by that girl. But yeah, there's a lot of catty drama, almost too stereotypical at times, it seems. But I really liked it. It was fun. The second book is a different book, kind of entirely, but it also plays on an old lost love, and it's about a girl who is a single mom. She's working in a dancer club, and she runs into the man whose baby it is, and he had just gotten transferred to the Mustangs, and he never knew the baby existed, and she's the kid is already like grown up and he looks like him and everything, so it's a completely different type of story, but none of them are like hugely emotional or anything. It's just a football romance stories, and I had fun with them. I liked them. I thought they were very fall themed. The first one, I liked the way the romance kind of played out a little bit more. The second one, it's not so much of a will they won't they, it's more of like an insta love. And because they had a prior relationship, that's how they had a baby when they were really young, so I didn't enjoy it as much, because I kind of hate it when that first romance, you either don't get to revisit it in the book, or it's just like left in the past, so you never get to hear about it. I don't like books that kind of start off with the romance already being done, because that's my favorite part, is the beginning romance. So yeah, I think I liked the first one better, but there were some things I really liked about the second one better. But that's everything for those two. And Intercepted, I think, came out in 2018. Fumbled came out in early 2019. And there's a third one that's coming out in that series at the end of 2019, I believe. It comes out before 2020. And then the next one is called Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. This, once again, is another steamy romance read, and just like the other two. And it's really fun as well. This one came out as well this year in 2018. This one I really loved because I liked the whole cast of characters provided in it. And so that gets me excited because I know it's going to be a bit of a series. And so I like reading about the other series. So this one's a different theme. It is baseball this time. And it is about a guy who he's out of his professional career and trying to find himself. And he's deciding what he's going to do. And he's gone into construction with his friend, and then his best friend's younger sister always had a crush on him and was teased a lot and gets made fun of because she became a clown. So she's not in like this like professional degree like the rest of her family is, or what they think is a professional thing. And so she gets made fun of a lot, and then she wants to be taken seriously as an adult basically. And so the guy wants to be taken seriously because he's gotten an offer to be an announcer for baseball. So he had kind of a sordid woman past, so he wants to be taken like seriously in his like normal life, I guess, or his private life, his dating life. So they decide to fake date, even though one of them had a huge crush on him for a long time. And the girl is sometimes cringeworthy how much she is into Travis, but I don't know, I still found it really fun. I really liked the whole cast of characters in the book. It was just middle of the road, really solid read once again, and it's definitely a will they won't they the whole time, because they're fake dating, but are we fake dating or are we real dating? I don't know. It's really fun as well. I liked all three of these sports books. I thought they were definitely fall themed, definitely fun, and yeah, I would check out any of them. Okay, so the next one is The Next Boy Story, which I think I also put it in my fall recommended reads, and this is by Tiffany Schmidt. This is number 2 in her classics. She did a retelling on Pride and Prejudice, and this one was a retelling on Little Women and Everyday. And they follow sisters. There's 3 of them right now. I don't know if it's going to follow the third sister or not, if it's going to branch off. But the second one is about the youngest sister, and she really likes the boy next door, but the boy next door is in love with her older sister, and her older sister is now in love with another boy because she went through this Pride and Prejudice thing. So there's a bit of magical realism, a little tiny bit of it in this book, I would say, because the teacher has like this magical ability to like teach kids through certain books that she knows they need to read and make them fall in love for whatever certain reason. So the very first book she reads is Gatsby, and she realizes she is not Gatsby at all. And then the second book she reads is Little Women, and of course there's a woman in Little Women who's in love with the neighbor. But for me, at first I was like, how is she going to play this out? Because this guy's in love with somebody, like his older sister. How is it going to like switch? But I thought she did really good. I thought she did good at like transferring it over to the love between the younger sister and him. And I really liked it. It was really fun. I think I liked it more than Pride and Prejudice, was surprising because I like Pride and Prejudice more than Little Women, but I really do love Little Women too, so maybe that's why I enjoyed it. And this storyline, I really liked. It had so much about it that I liked because it had family dynamics in it, which is fun, but it was still based in romance for YA. And then I also liked like the sisters did not get along, which is true. I hate it when like yeah, everything seems perfect. But yeah, the sisters are kind of catty towards each other, and it's fun. And then also, like, their professions, or her passions, I guess, when they're younger like that, their passions kind of drive the two romances apart, which I also like, because when you're young, you're very driven and focused on what I'm going to be in my life, and that does often divide people. And then I also liked, and I also really liked the awkward love triangle, because the boy next door and her older sister have been best friends forever, and he's in love with her, but she's in love with another guy, and so it's just awkward. And then the younger sister's pining for him. I liked it, but I thought it was a really fun book. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely YA. I wouldn't recommend it across the board unless you enjoy reading YA, but it was fun. Even though it was a thicker book, it still read really quickly, and I enjoyed it, and I liked it. If you like retellings, I think you will too. Next one I read was 10 Tiny Breaths by K.A. Tucker, and I really enjoyed it. It's one of her first books I think she ever wrote, but I read The Simple Wild and Until It Fades and her newest book by her, and I really enjoyed all three of those, and those were standalones. I guess she's doing a number 2 to Simple Wild, so it's not going to be standalone for very much longer. But 10 Tiny Breaths I know has like spin-off books, so I was excited to get into it, and this story was not quite what I was expecting, because I thought it was YA because of the people's ages, but there was a lot of hard topics in it. There is sexual assault, and there is psychological issues, there's death issues, and there's like depression, and also stalking in it. And so there's a lot kind of going on in this book, and the book, it doesn't get deeply emotional, but it's not like one of those ones that has it in it, like, and it's just like a touch of it. It is centered around the book. So you find a girl in the very beginning of the story, and there's a girl who has taken her younger sister, and her younger sister's still going through high school, and she moves them into this really poor hotel, or poor apartment complex, and then starts working at a strip club because she makes a lot of good money there, and she does not strip, but she bartends there. And so usually when books like enter that, you kind of have prejudgments, right? You kind of like have prejudgments about who the person was or something. I don't know, it's bad to say, but yeah, you kind of do. But then in this book, like, I just had none because of all the background story you kind of get right away. It's just like, this person is very young and very brave to like be keeping, because her little sister was sexually assaulted by the people that were supposed to be watching over them. So for her sister to be brave enough to move them away and enroll her in high school and everything, and trying to provide for her, it was fun. But then there's kind of a bit of a creep part of the romance story. The boy is lovely, and he makes her fall in love with him, and she easily falls in love with him because he's gorgeous, because it is like a romance story at the base, but there's something very creepy about him in the end, and she's gonna have to get over it. It's not, I don't know if this is a typical taste for most people, but I enjoyed the book overall. I thought it was good, and I loved the side characters. I like it when the side characters have a main point. So there's 3 main side characters in this book, and that is her sister, and then the neighbor who gets her the job, and then the neighbor has a young daughter. And all 3 of them play like pivotal roles in her life, which I really enjoyed, because that doesn't happen often, especially in YA books. There's just side characters that are quirky or whatever, but they do not necessarily need it for the storyline, and these ones really were. So I enjoyed that as well. And yeah, I can't wait to read more of the series. I think it's her younger sister story next, I believe. But yeah, it was interesting. It will hit a lot more emotional points, and I enjoyed it. And I liked the judgment of the story, because all these people had come from like hard places, and you get to know them really rather quickly. And it's a hard story for romance. It's a hard story that you have to leap over a gap and have a little bit of faith because you've known this person because of this kind of thing. I don't know. I liked it. So the next book I read is a completely different flip on everything else I read, and it was The Island of the Sea by Lisa C. And I love her books, but I do put them off for a while because they are hard, long books typically to read, just because she does full lifespans. Except for A Peony in Love, most of her books I've ever read, she does a full lifespan of a character, which is a lot to intake on a character. And so no matter how quickly they read or no matter how intriguing they are, it's a lot. So this one follows Mija and Youngsuk. Mija is the main character, or Youngsuk is the main character. Mija is her best friend, and it follows them from the very young girls, and they're both like their wishes for romance and everything, and they both are very strong women. They live on this island, and in this island women are very strong people, and they're the head of the household. They go out into the ocean every day, freeze their butts off, and dive down and get octopus and all that stuff to sell, all like everything from the seafloor to sell. So they have a dangerous job. It's a different lifestyle to the rest of Korea. And this book does follow two women during the World War II, and it follows during the Korean War, which was just 7 years after World War II. And then of course, all the travesties that happened after that, just like decimated a large part of Korea. And even like, I think half of that island gets murdered and killed. And so there's a lot of tragedy in this book. There's a lot of wars going on. But at the same time, through the heart of it are these two women who take charge of their families, and both of them end up with very different lives. And I really like this story. And there ends up being like a tear between them, and you don't know why, because that's where the story starts. You know that in the end, there was something that made them like hate each other. And so that's where the story starts, and then that you start when they're really young girls. So you know the whole time that something is going to be tragic and tear these two people apart, and what happened to these two people. I loved it and enjoyed it. I would recommend this book to anybody. I would recommend it to YA or new adult, people who are into thrillers. This is one of those books that you can read across the board and get out of it. These people were real women who did this, who still do this to this day, and who dive down and get stuff off the seafloor. And it's a dangerous job, and you learn so much in this book about Korea, and so much about the island, and so much about what are their names. There's a particular name for these women that do this. I don't know if I wrote it down. Oh, Henyo. So yeah, these women are called Henyo, and you learn so much about them. It is so fun. I love the book. It does truly do almost a lifespan, because it starts out really young when they're first learning. I think when they're like 12 or 13, maybe when they're called baby divers. The Henyo call them baby divers up until the woman is like in her 90s, I believe. So it is a almost an entire full lifespan book. But I really enjoyed it. I loved it. It was one of the best books I read this year. It was written really well. I really enjoy Lisa C's writing. So if you haven't checked it out this year, it got released, I think, back in April, or no, it got released in March of 2018. And if you're a Lisa C fan, I think you'll enjoy this as well. So going backwards again, I read some more romances. Okay, so the next book is The Walk of Shame by Lauren Lane. This is just a fun, easy, fluffy, read book. I picked it just because it came up like on my audiobook on romances, so they're popular, and the couple that are on the cover, I don't know where the covers are, but they're cute. Like I usually don't like actual like humans on covers, but their like positioning and I don't know, their little attitudes on the cover was cute. And the cover, the name of it doesn't really go with, I think, the story, but whatever. It's called Walk of Shame. The girl is a socialite, which usually I have a harder time connecting to like socialite books, but the girl is really funny and genuine, and she loves people, and like she loves to get to know everybody, and like really knows what's going on in people's lives. So she's a really fun, like warm-hearted person, and she is a socialite, so she does go out, she does parties, she does go, and she does throw charity events, and she does go to banquets and galas and all this stuff. So usually she's getting in at 5 a.m. as she brings the security guard donuts every day, and there's a man who she likes to run into, and the man is grumpy, and he's a divorce lawyer, and he's one of the most famous divorce lawyers in New York. And so yeah, it's a really fun, light, easy read. It is a enemies to lovers trope, and usually I don't even really like those or believe them that much, but this one was really fun. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Just kind of a middle road, but yeah, it's definitely, we'll see what happens with them, see if things get steamy or not. But yeah, they have these little meetings every morning. It is a banter-filled book, which I do like that, I think, too. The romance is based off of this, like, kind of enemy banter that they have until they get stuck in some other situations that are outside of that 5 a.m. When I think he's going to run and then going to work, but okay. The next one was also a steamy romance and is From Here to You by Jamie McGuire. I've never read anything by this author. This was an interesting book. It was a first in a series. It was different because it touched on emotional. It was a little weird, but it's about a girl named Darby and a boy named Trex, I believe. Yeah. And Darby is a girl who's like running away from an abusive relationship in the military, and because she found out she was pregnant and she's supposed to marry this guy, and she's like, no, I cannot raise a baby, and she leaves. And so then she runs into a guy named Trex. She starts working in this hotel, and he is a patron in the hotel, and he has gone through a lot in life. He was like in the military and then in the FBI, and now he owns like his own security firm or something like that, and he works at a place that he's not allowed to talk about. So she has problems with people who are liars and stalkers, and like she doesn't want to get involved because she's pregnant, and he's just kind of seeking her out constantly. And then as well, he kind of lies to her because he likes to keep part of his life private, which that part doesn't match up to me for a guy that's gone through so much in life. I just kind of didn't find the storyline a little bit believable that he would tell these lies in a way. Because that's a huge part of the storyline, is that he would lie and then she wouldn't trust him kind of moment. So I don't know if I bought the whole storyline. There's also these fires going on. So there's a big fire and there's a lot of firemen staying there. And there's a big fire in the mountains at the time. And so there's kind of a little bit of more of a backstory. But I mean, I enjoyed it overall. But I would like to see where the series goes, I think. I think I'd want to check out the next one. But this one was just a little bit too, like, there were so many storylines, and I didn't quite believe one character in a way. And there was definitely the stalker, like the stalker ex-boyfriend, husband. This one had one of the most believable stalker exes, okay? The woman was pregnant with this baby. So as far as that goes, that was actually one of the more believable ones I've ever read in a romance book, which is a really popular thing apparently in romance books. I'm coming across it over and over. So, and a lot of them you have to suspend belief, but this one is not. This one I totally believed it, but yeah. It's just kind of like, I don't know. When it's again, it's completely different, and it was Ready One Player, and I had read parts of this or read part of it before the movie came out, saw the movie, and then I recently had picked it up and I was like, you know what, I want to read it, and it was completely different than the movie, but I absolutely loved it. I ended up liking the book so much better. The book is a way longer story, where the movie I think tried to speed things up of like things happening between the boy who is like winning these challenges in the video game and IOI. But I enjoyed the book so much better. So this is one of the rare occasions, if you saw the movie Ready Player One, I obviously didn't play video games in the day. I would suggest reading the book. The book is so much fun. It has so much video game history in it, and like things I never knew about video games. I grew up like when Nintendo just came out, and like Duck Hunt and stuff, so I was quite young when these things came out, but I don't remember all this stuff. There's so much video game history. It was so fun. I didn't realize this book came out so long ago, that it came out in like 2011, I think. But I would highly, highly suggest reading it. I gave it 5 stars for a YA dystopian. It was so much fun, and I loved it. And because usually the very beginning was kind of the same, and I was like, I don't know, because usually if you read a book or watch a movie and then read the book and the beginning's the same, you're like, I can't read this. But definitely read it. It was fun. It was one of the best dystopians I've ever read. We only have like 4 books left, but 2 of them are really, really good. So the next one I read was Alaskan Holiday by Debbie McComber. I've never read anything by her. I know she's a huge romance writer, and this was like her release last year. It's one of her most recent releases, so I decided to check it out. And she's a really good romance writer. But the book I read, Alaskan Holiday, starts out where the romance has already happened, and you know, it's a pet peeve of mine. So these people are already in love, and their passions in life are tearing them apart, where he loves living in Alaska, and he is like a swordsmith, like a metal guy. I don't know what the name terminology these days would be. Back in the day, he'd been a swordsmith. But and then she is a chef, and then the lodge there is only open seasonal, and she just got this huge chef opportunity. So she goes back to Seattle and takes it and works for this very famous chef. But it's one of those stories where you really think you want something in life, and you realize what you had before is what you actually wanted. And so I really enjoyed it in that aspect. I loved it. It was fun. It was super easy to read. But the one thing about it is you don't get to fall in love when they're falling in love. So for me, I was like, yeah. If we had got to see that part, because it happened over the summer, if I had gotten to see that part, I would have really enjoyed the book overall. But I just, not for me, that one. Really fun. I read The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary, and I listened to this one on audiobook, and it was so much fun. It was one of the best romances I've read this year, and I've read probably nearly 80 romances. But the book was hilarious and fun, and it is slow going. It is slow romance, and it's about a girl who decides to flat share with a guy because she has no money, and she's trying to get away from this guy that has been in her life forever, and just he's always kind of taking care of her in a way, but she wants to be independent and live without him, and he's kind of destroyed like some parts of her like self-esteem. Okay, so she needs to rebuild it. So she flat shares with a guy that she never ever meets. He works during the day, or he sleeps there during the day. So she gets I think she gets it for like certain hours, from like 6 to 8 a.m. or something. And then he also is gone weekends, and he's with his girlfriend. And so what happens is they never meet, so they leave notes, and like she sleeps on the left and he sleeps on the right, and they just leave notes around the apartment like, you used up all the paper towels or something like that. And their notes, they get to know each other really, really well through their notes, and they kind of talk back and forth about a lot of things, and they get interested, and his life begins to get really involved with this other girl's life, and his girlfriend notices, and they break up. So then it's a will they won't they, are they ever gonna meet, are they gonna like each other physically when they meet? And it's so much fun. It's so funny. I loved it. It was one of those books where I didn't know it was gonna be funny, but I loved it. I thought it was really fun, and I really liked the job, and the girls like looking I don't know, the girl's like starting a career kind of move, and he's really real set in his career, but he's kind of got a harder career, but I really like it. I thought it was fun. And I definitely say check it out. Okay, so Eat, Pray, Love, one of the most famous books, Elizabeth Gilbert, she wrote a book called The City of Girls, and it is fiction this time, where that was a nonfiction piece. I absolutely loved it. Now, this isn't, I would recommend it to everybody, because the main character has a huge portion of her life is revolved around sex and her losing her virginity, and she talks about sex a lot in this book. So if that hadn't been the main character's like thing in her life, this would have been a universal read. It is a really good story. It is a fun story. It is not a plot-driven book. So if you're a person who loves plot-driven books, this is not a plot-driven book at all. This is like a story about nothing kind of book. But it is so well done. At the same time, it is really gripping. It is page turning. You want to know what's happening. You want to know who she's writing to, because she's writing to somebody, telling them about her life. And she grew up before the war. She went to New York, and she's working at a play, and she's kind of being taken care of at this point. And she's a really good seamstress, and she's making the costumes. And then they decide to make a really big, cool production called City of Girls. And they have some famous actors who come in and lived, and they've come from London because the war is starting. And then she makes a vital, huge mistake. One of those huge life lessons, and somebody says something to her, and it just crushes to her heart, right? And so she goes home, right, for a while and takes a bit of a reprieve, and then she comes back, works during the war, puts on all these shows down at the Navy Yard during the war, and then her life kind of gets back into like normal life, and she ends up becoming I don't want to give it away, but she ends up becoming a seamstress still, a very successful seamstress with one of her friends that she met the first time she went to New York. And yeah, she has a really good life in New York, and she meets a guy, and it was a guy that just like had crushed her before with something random he said. And so it's really good story. It is fun. It is romantic. I didn't know. I was just like, me and this person is talking about sex a lot, but the story does evolve, and it's a fun story. I would recommend City of Girls to anybody who does like chick lit, or romances, or I don't know. It's just so well done. It was one of the best written books, if not the best written book I read this year. And yeah, it wasn't that it was the best book I read, but it was so well done and so well written. Usually plot-driven books probably drive people crazy and insane. But yeah, this was not that at all. But it was so good still at the same time. I really wanted to read it. Really wanted to pick it up. And my dogs are barking. Last book is called If Ever I Should Love You by Kathy Maxwell. It is one of the worst titles to remember I barely remember what this book is about, and it was the last book I read in October, so that's kind of saying something. So it's about an earl and a woman named Leonie, and she doesn't have a title, but he has a title, and he's dirt poor, and he needs a girl with money, a spinster heiress. So this series is called A Spinster Heiress. It is a kind of quicker love story. The things I did really enjoy about it and like about it is that it was a historical romance that read quickly, and also it deals with alcoholism, which I don't usually... I mean, sometimes it's in historical books, but not usually in historical romances, so I liked it. I liked the attack on that, and that was a different, like, twist in the ending, but it's a really quick read. It's a really fast read. There isn't much the romance. That's what the whole book is, but yeah, it's just... It was okay. I don't know if I'd go on with it or not. It's definitely steamy. It's definitely fun. It's a girl who doesn't want to, like, be involved with her husband. She wants to be separated, and that's what she asks for, but then she kind of changes her mind. So yeah, it's a really light, easy read, but those are all the books I read in October. If I sat through all of this, please give this video a thumbs up down below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. It just lets you notify of when I do upload. I read some phenomenal books in October. Hopefully you got some inspiration, because some of these would be really good winter reads, and some of them are just new reads that came out this year that I really think you should check out, and I think you guys would have fun with. But those are all the books I read in October, and I will see you guys in the next one. See you guys next time. Bye! Oh yeah. Oh, my foot's asleep.